Hi there, Andrew Bolton with Keller Realty Centers here again. Thanks for joining me. And as promised, we're going to do a very quick look at the 2017 numbers on the TREB board. If you want a more in-depth look at these numbers and how they pertain to your house and your area in particular, just contact me and we'll be happy to do that for you for free, and we can talk to you about what it means for your house. So the first slide here, we're looking at sort of a big snapshot of the whole year. On the left-hand side, you've got sales, active listings, MOI or months of inventory, the average price, and the days on market. Should be noted that this is for all property types, so condos, detached homes, semi-detached, and the like. So at the beginning of the year, we were at a very all-time low for inventory with just over 5,000 active listings in January, and that continued into March. As you see, we had 5,000 sales in January, and in March just over 12,000, which is quite a record for that time period. And then as we went through the rest of the year, you can see people started to jump on with their listings, and we had a lot more inventory and a lot fewer sales. But months of inventory, at the beginning of the year we were less than a month in some cases, and we could feel that in the market, and things were selling very quickly. We couldn't keep things on the market for very long. But as we get back into, the last half of 2017, a very, very different story. And depending on where you live, but, July, yes, it is sort of normally a slower month for real estate inventory. So we had, 3.1 months of inventory. What that means is, if we were to stop having new listings come on, it would take about 3 months to sell all of those off, and then we would have zero. So for a very long time, we've seen very much so a seller's market, with very low inventory and very low number of months of inventory. And now we should look at the average price. Again, this is across all types. So it's a bit different for detached homes than it is for condos and Toronto as it is for York region, but it's a good indicator of where we're going and where we've been. So we started in the 700,000 range. This is rounded up to the nearest thousand. And then we popped right up to $876,000, the average in February, and then again 916, and then in April 920 being the top of last year in terms of average price point, and then we see that coming down, and quite quickly actually. So by the end of the year, we are in December and we're seeing an average price point of 735. Days on market, basically how long it takes us to sell your home. Getting lower as we get into April because it was quite busy and there wasn't much out there. And then we see, as with the prices going down, the days on market go up, as well as more inventory hits the market, it takes longer to sell a property. It makes sense. So now at the end of this year, we're sitting at around 27, so 30 days, about a month. The next slide is sales, total sales. So in 2016, we saw 113,040 sales in all of TREB, which, by the way, is a record, very, very high record. And in 2017, we saw just over 92,000. Which is much more in line with where we've been if you look at a 5-year. So, that doesn't really scare me, but in terms of percentages, everyone likes to see that. That's a 18.3% down from the year before. So there is a large difference between 2016 and 2017 in terms of what's selling. This is the average sales by property type. So here we're breaking it down a bit. We're showing you what we can do with the data. Detached homes, this is for December 2017. We saw, detached homes went down 2.5%. I mean, we haven't seen negative numbers in a while. We've been seeing it only go up, and what goes up must come down. But some detached homes were up, finished the year up 6.7%. Condo townhouses right around flat. But this is one that should note, and I've been talking to a lot of clients about this, and predicting that we would see about a 20% raise in prices on condos, and we're seeing about a 15% raise, 14.4 to be exact. It can be anywhere from 15 to 20, depending on your area and the building and the style of condo. The year-over-year average price change, it was up just under 1%. So, you know, we're sort of sitting at where we started the year before. The next slide is a fairly interesting one in terms of months of inventory, but it's months of inventory by property type. So we've broken it down between detached, semi-detached, condo towns, and condo apartments. And the blue line there is Treb, so for all of Treb. And you can see right away, just from looking at it, that the detached homes had a huge spike in inventory and much higher than any of the other property types. And we felt that in the amount of homes hitting the market and the amount of sales we're getting. I mean, there's just a lot of people trying to get their home sold, which is, and it was a fairly good time to sell your home, and it still is, but we have to price you right. And, you know, we can't chase those numbers from March and April. Those numbers are actually quite gone, depending on where you live. Toronto proper is a little more insulated. Some of the areas outside of Toronto definitely saw big swings of, you know, even 20 to 30% appreciation into April, and then losing all of that by the end of the year. So, but we're back to months of inventory here. You can see detached homes definitely have the highest amount. And then the one that I really like to note, and this is why we're seeing an increase in pricing on condos, is look at where the condos are. They're the lowest, so just not a lot of inventory out there. And if you're an owner of a condo, then you know, it might be time to look at possibly moving up, selling your condo and moving to a larger condo, or getting into a detached home. The next slide here is months of inventory, but what I did was I split it between York Region and the City of Toronto, two areas that I focus on. And I move people from Toronto to New York Region and vice versa, depending on their situation. So you can see here, though, that at the beginning of the year, York Region was pacing and sometimes outpacing the City of Toronto. In particular for detached homes. This is all property types on this chart right now, but you can see that the months of inventory really do separate as we get into, you know, the summer months in New York Region. They just go way up. It's because that inventory really spiked. So it takes a lot longer to sell homes. So we're up at the end of the year to 2.8 months versus 1.4. So almost double the time it takes in Toronto proper in New York Region. And in some areas in New York Region, like I said, it's much higher than that, actually, closer to 4 months of inventory, sometimes 5. So we're definitely approaching that buyer's market, or a much more balanced market. It's very important that home sellers now price their houses right, because the buyer, you know, has a little more choice out there, and they are going to be looking around. The last one here is the average sales price detached, and again between York Region and the City of Toronto. You can see they kind of mirror each other. Obviously a little bit of a premium put on to the houses in the City of Toronto, but we get pretty close to those values, you know, at the beginning of the year in York Region, and then we pop down. And surprisingly, in August, we're almost at parity for pricing. There wasn't a lot of movement in terms of sales in York Region, but you know what there was, they were still holding their value. Then we pop back up in September, and then, you know, we're coming back down a bit by the end of the year. So what do these stats mean to you? Well, that's the big question, and it does mean something different to everyone. It depends on your situation and what you're trying to sell or buy, and where. And that's where we can come in and give you some advice on that. But sort of in a very high level, I think that 2018, what we're going to see is much more of the same. I don't think we're going to see those crazy spikes in pricing. I think we're going to see a fair bit of inventory across the board. I think that's going to create some opportunity for some buyers, depending on what style of home they're going to get. I also think it might be a great time to sell for some people, in particular some condo owners, or some geographical areas are still going to be very busy, and Toronto is very much insulated to some of the downswing we're seeing in some of the outlying areas, York Region in particular. But you know, if you ever want to know what these numbers look like for your particular area, and in fact for your particular home, I'd be happy to do that for you. We can come out and write these numbers up for you and explain them, and just basically give you a valuation on your home based on some stats and the current market. And I can tell you where I think it's going to go, and you can, you know, make a decision from there whether it's your time for you to sell or buy or the like. And you know, I thank you again for watching. If you or anyone you know is looking to buy or sell in real estate, please give them my contact info. I'd be happy to help them. Referrals are how my business is run, and I treat them like gold, and I treat them with the respect that they deserve, because they're coming from you, my trusted friends and clients. So once again, thank you for watching, and we'll be in touch. Bye for now.